Race fans, it's time to fire the engines on the 2010 NASCAR Sprint Cup season. A new year with new hopes and a clean slate for every team and every driver. And it all starts here at the world's center of racing, the Daytona International Speedway. Tonight, under the lights, the stars of NASCAR will race in the purest form on a Saturday night under the lights in an all-out shootout for a whole lot of cash. The gloves are off with new rules, and they have already caused havoc. 5 teams are in backup cars, and we still have yet to turn the first lap of the Bud Shootout. So strap in and get set for a wild night under the lights at Daytona. It's time for the 2010 Budweiser Shootout. Hello everyone and welcome to another season of NASCAR Race Day built by the Home Depot here on Speed. It is now my pleasure to introduce my teammates for the year, Kyle Petty and driver number 28, Kenny Wallace.
Kenny Wallace!
Woo! Baby, race day! NASCAR race day!
Thank you.
2010! Man, look at these fans!
They're everywhere, man.
There's 3 million out there, Kyle.
3 million right here.
It's good to see you all. Welcome back to race day. Woo!
Kyle Petty, good to see you, old buddy. What's happening, man? You ready for some racing tonight?
I'm ready for some racing, man. We've been down here, it seems like forever, and I'm ready to see some cars. The ARCA race was good, but I'm ready to see some Bud Shootout cars.
So we got 24 drivers, 75 laps, and a big old paycheck on the line. It's an old-fashioned shootout, the way a lot of these guys started racing on Saturday nights, Kenny, under the lights.
Oh, I love Saturday night under the lights, and let me tell you something. I feel like this race started 2 nights ago. They have wrecked so many of these Bud Shootout cars that when the guys went to, draw the pill, I think somebody said, I'm starting 6th. Nope, I'm going to the back. Hey, I'm starting 8th. Nope, I'm going to the back. Kyle, they have wrecked, and now they got backup cars. This is going to be an exciting Bud Shootout for 2010.
Here, they wreck in the middle of the straightaways. This is what kills me about Cup drivers. I mean, we always do it, but these guys are just jockeying for position. You see somebody check up a little bit. When this accident happened, there was no place for anywhere to go behind here. You see him turn the 5 car into the outside wall, comes back across, gets into the 1, gets into the 11, gets into the 29. And poor Harvick wasn't even here. That's the bad part about it.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick was at home sick. Now watch this, Kyle. Here we go, second practice.
Boom.
Wow, Juan Pablo gets in to Kurt Busch, and there's another car out.
Let's take a look at the list of the guys who have to go to the back of the field tonight. Now, it's not a 500-mile race. It is a 75-lap race, so they'll have their work to do. The number 1 of Jamie McMurray, innocent victim in the first melee, Kurt Busch, Mark Martin, Denny Hamlin, a winner at this Budweiser Shootout, the Biff, and Kevin Harvick, who is our defending champion of this race. And it ever happened to you when you were in high school? You loan your car to a buddy and he wrecks it? Well, that's what happened to Kevin Harvick. He loaned it to Clint Boyer for the night, and he wrecked it.
Who loans your race car to anybody? I mean, and that was cool. Listening to Gil Martin, he was talking about, I've been down here, I've been through 2 cars and 3 drivers, and I've only been on the racetrack in 2 practices, which is pretty devastating when you look at it, because these guys prepare all winter long. Harvick gets the flu, can't come to the racetrack, loans his car to 2 or 3 drivers, they get in trouble, nothing they can do.
Different rules this year, Kenny Wallace, have put us in a different position in terms of the drivers that are in it. It used to be the pole sitters from the year before, but now it is a whole different group of guys that you look at, because we have 12 drivers that were in the chase in 2009, past champions, past Bud Shootout champions. That gives us Kenny Schrader, past Daytona 500 champions. That gives us Derek Cope, and the reigning Ray Bestis Rookie of the Year is Joey Logano, a very diverse yet very competitive field.
One thing I have to say about this race, fans, if you somebody, you're in this race. They've covered it all, Kyle. Top 12 in the points. Daytona 500 winners. Rookie of the Year, baby. This is an exciting format.
How did we get left out? Well, we ain't somebody,
hey,
dude. Never
I'm
mind.
somebody.
We're somebody, baby.
Because Kyle asked earlier today, he asked the question, who big time is not in the shootout? And we couldn't really give him an answer. I mean, they're all big time drivers.
Yeah.
But who real big time is not in there? But you got that covered with the top 12.
And when you look at it, the thing is, when you look at Kenny Schrader and you look at Derek Cope, those guys had to compete in the Cup Series over the last couple of years to be able to take that exemption and use it. If not, we'd have the King back here and Daryl and some of those guys.
Man, wouldn't that be awesome?
How cool would that be?
See your dad riding high, not afraid of Hey, look at Richard on the wall, man. That'd be awesome.
He'd still get it done. Now, another guy who is definitely somebody is our good friend Hermie Sadler, who is patrolling the garage area for us on this all-star studded night. Hermie?
Well, thank you, Gerald, and it's also great to be with you guys for another season of Race Day here on Speed. Now, we just saw an exciting finish for Danica Patrick in one GoDaddy.com car, and here's another GoDaddy car driven by Mark Martin. Now, early today here at Daytona, Mark Martin qualified on the pole for next Sunday's Daytona 500. But this is his backup car that he'll race in the Bud Shootout tonight. Now, we do know from what we saw in qualifying today that the Hendrick Motorsports cars are fast. But the question is, can they be fast and drive good? What you'll see tonight is fans, not only whose car is fast, but who's got the handling package to get it done in a 25-lap segment and a 50-lap segment. And Kyle Petty, I think these drivers in this race tonight, with the lack of testing, have a tremendous advantage getting laps on this racetrack. The question is, will everybody make all the laps, or will we see what we've seen all week down here?
No, I think you're going to see some of what we've seen all week down here. I think you're going to see guys getting into each other. You're going to see guys testing those boundaries. Remember, NASCAR has lightened the rules a little bit and said, boys, go at it. We can see bump drafting down the straightaways. We can see it in the corners. So you're going to see that. The guys that are in this race are definitely going to have an advantage going into the Twins that you're going to see here on Speed on Thursday. They're definitely going to have an advantage over those guys because they have had an opportunity to fill their cars out.
I got a lot to say, race fans, but at the start of the season, here's my most important, I guess, thing I have to say to you. I learned this from a promoter in Tucson, Arizona, baby, for the Bud Shootout tonight. If you're going to wreck big. If you're going to fight, do it on the front straightaway in front of the fans, because this game on NASCAR says put the gloves on, because that's what you fans want. Woo!
Just how wild can the Bud Shootout get? Well, last year, Kevin Harvick only led one lap, but he led the lap that counted, the final one, on the way to a Bud Shootout victory. We got a wild night coming your way under the lights here at Daytona. It's Bud Shootout time, and it's race day on Speed.
NASCAR Race Day is built by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. Brought to you in part by Hershey's Milk and Milkshakes. Try a new way to indulge in Hershey's. And by DirecTV. To get the most out of your high-def TV, you've got to hook it up to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
Welcome back to Daytona, everyone, and there's some serious horsepower on the racetrack, and in the off-season, NASCAR instituted some rule changes that should have the fans pretty fired up, especially about racing here at Daytona. They put the driving back in the hands of the drivers, taking the gloves off, so to speak. Some see it as a big change, some see it as simply getting back to basics.
I was extremely encouraged by the words he said and what he sees in the sport and what it needs to be successful. I think he's on task with what he's asking out of us, and you know, I don't plan on changing any because I feel like I was already there. So it'll be interesting to see how everyone reacts.
There's not one change that NASCAR has done in this offseason that I disagree with. It's everything is going to make our sport stronger, and you know, they've been on this getting back to the roots thing for the last couple years, but this is the first time I've really seen them do a lot of things that the fans are really going to love.
Anytime you can take rules away and judgment calls away from something, I think it makes it more of a pure sport.
How many times has NASCAR actually penalized drivers for spinning somebody out, for wrecking? It could happen every lap, every race, and it doesn't, because people know if it happens to you, it's coming back, you know what I mean? So it really polices itself. I think it being in the driver's hands is perfectly okay.
NASCAR has created so many rules over the last couple of years that have kind of put them in a corner, really. You know, when you think about the yellow line rule, you know, here at Daytona, and the no bump drafting, it's such a judgment call, you know, and when they make that call and you come in and you try to argue it, there's nothing to argue because it's their judgment, you know. I think it's good that, you know, things are going to be more clear cut because it's a little bit more in our hands now.
Well, I think that's been their motto all along. They've built this car so that it goes back into the driver's hands. They've, for years now, told us, hey, we're loosening up in areas, do what you want to do and act how you want to act. So I appreciate that, and I think that it's a great message, and I think that there are a lot of little areas in our sport that need to be kind of focused on all the, you know, the positives of our sport. So I think there will be some small changes because of what has been said, but at the end of the day, you know, the reason we ran at the fall race in Talladega single file and there wasn't a lot of bump drafting and passing is because we as drivers didn't want to wreck. The reason we're not in fist fights every week and crashing each other every lap of the track is because we don't want to go through that stuff. I mean, it might be entertaining, but when you're living it, you don't want to do it. So I think if we really focus on how competitive our sport is, how amazing our sport is, the stars of the sport, the talent that's within our sport, we'll have a very, very exciting year.
And so many of those rule changes will affect the action on the track here at Daytona, and we all hope in a very positive way. Let's now bring in the other member of our race day broadcast team, and that's Wendy Venturini. Wendy?
Good evening, Johnny. So good to be back on NASCAR Race Day. An exciting finish from the ARCA Series. Come over here to the Cup Garage, and it's about to get really down to business here for the shootout. Now, earlier in the week, remember there was this big wreck between Denny Hamlin and Mark Martin. It continued down the road. A lot of guys had to go to backup cars for the shootout. Well, what happened with a lot of those cars, we just saw that feature about back to the basics. That wasn't the cause of this wreck. In talking with a lot of the drivers, their thoughts were not about that NASCAR let the reins loose. This was simply the first time a lot of these cars ever got into a draft on Daytona's racetrack. Keep in mind, with testing going away, these cars did a lot of simulation testing back at the shops. However, the first time they were in drafting conditions all together with this extended wicker, with this curved end plate as you see on Jeff Gordon's car, these things when they got in the draft probably caused a little bit of different feedback from these race cars than they ever simulated on those computers. So it wasn't necessarily NASCAR letting the reins go, it was simply these drivers getting comfortable with how these cars are reacting on this racetrack, and it's going to continue on as speed weeks continue. But needless to say, we do have some wrecked race cars early in the week, and a lot of these guys have gone to backups. Kenny?
You know what? I listened to Brian France, our president, in the middle of the winter, and he says, we're getting back to basics. I'm like, Brian, what did that mean? Here's what it means. Back in 1979, the white flag waves for the Daytona 500. It's Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison, and we're glued to our seats. We're like, woo, here they come. They're coming to the checkered flag. Bang, bang. We thought there was a wreck. That was a big deal. Then Kyle, they got out and they started punching each other. Then Bobby Allison came by. We got 3 drivers in a fight. That's what we got to get back to. We got to get back to, you know, Dale Earnhardt taking Rusty out. Rusty gets out of the car at Bristol, takes a water bottle, pops Earnhardt in the nose. We got away from that. One
You
more
want
thing.
people hitting each other with water bottles?
Obviously he does.
Hey,
yeah, you do.
I watched Kyle
See, now
Petty.
here's
I never did this. I never did this.
I watched Kyle Petty at this racetrack on the front straightaway get wrecked. He thought he got wrecked bad by Bobby Hillin. You got out of the car, you grabbed Bobby Hillin's helmet, went like that, and the crowd went nuts. That's what we need.
I'm guilty. I'm sorry, Bobby Hillin. I'm sorry I did that. I mean, but here's what I think. You know, I think they have taken and they've said, let's put it back in the hands of the drivers. But here's the difference between 1979 and 2010. Huge sponsors, people. That Lowe's is not going to let Jimmy Johnson get out and scream at somebody. You know, Office Depot's not going to let Tony Stewart get out and scream at somebody. They're going to let them do what they want to do on the racetrack, and I think that's what NASCAR has done. They're saying, okay, we're going to back out of the equation. You still have your owner to answer to. You still have your sponsor to answer to. You still have these fans to answer to. But you don't have us to answer to as much. We're not going to take points like that. We're not going to take money. So I do believe it frees it up. But I agree with what Wendy said. The loosening of the rules, the back to basics, had nothing to do with what went on in the middle of the backstretch.
Just got to make sure we don't go to a fight and a race breaks out throughout the way.
Why not?
Kenny's the one that's talking about fighting. There it is, 1979. That's what Kenny wants. What do you think, race fans? Is that what you want to see out there? Little Duke, no, I think that was a yes. We'll be back with much more race day in a moment. It's the world's most famous beach. It's where it all began, and it's where the 2010 NASCAR season begins with an all-star shootout under the lights. 24 drivers, 75 laps. The Bud Shootout at Daytona represents the best of NASCAR's best, and it starts out every season. Winning the Bud Shootout does not necessarily mean you're going to have a great year, but it certainly is a great way to start with some beating and some banging. No points on the line. A lot of talking, a lot of jawing before and afterwards, and someone walks away with a big check. We have already had wild things going on so far on the racetrack throughout this week so far, a very young speed weeks, and now we are back at this racetrack with the Zach Brown Band playing to us live here at Daytona on race day. Welcome back, everyone, to another season. It's 2010, and this is NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot alongside of Kyle Petty and Kenny Wallace. I'm John Roberts, and we are glad to be back in action. Let's throw the rag. Let's get going here, Kyle.
I'm ready. This is the first race of the year, just like Kenny alluded to earlier. No testing. And I think that was part of the crash. Just like Wendy was talking about. These guys have done simulation. These drivers haven't done simulation. These drivers they don't have the closure rate. They don't have these new end plates, the new little wicker builds, some of this stuff. It makes the car move around. And you think, okay, how bad can it make the car move around? Let me tell you something. If it makes the car move around that much at 180 miles an hour, where do you feel it?
Oh, my gosh. Right in my butt, baby.
Right in your butt, baby.
And when I feel it in my butt, I'm like, whoop, whoop, whoop. And I'm like, I want to finish the race. I want to finish the race and get to the end, then let her eat.
Now, another guy who has probably felt something similar to what Kenny was describing here at Daytona is Hermie Sadler. Hermie?
I can't describe what Kenny said he was feeling, so I'm not even going to try to ask that question to Ryan Newman, but we're trying to all speculate. What are we going to see on the racetrack tonight? It's been kind of a wild week. What do you think we're going to see tonight?
Man, don't waste your time speculating. Just watch the 75 laps. I think we'll put on a great show. Our car's pretty good with the Haas Automation Chevrolet, and you know, I don't think you can predict. I don't think anybody's prepared necessarily for what the tire, the track, the coolness, you know, the layout of the race. You know, I don't think anybody's got an exact strategy for it, but just stick around and watch us unfold it.
You showed us today in Daytona 500 qualifying that you guys have speed in your race cars. Did you get enough practice for the Bud Shootout to know if you've got that feel you need to be good on the long run here?
Yeah, I think we got speed, and I think that tonight will prove, or somebody else will prove, if they've got handling, and that's what's extremely important here. Obviously not, you know, 500 style race where you got long runs and whatnot, but it's going to be interesting to see that last stint. Nobody can make it on fuel, so we'll see what happens.
And one last question. This is year 2 for Stewart Haas Racing. You guys both made the chase last year. Have your expectations kind of increased going into 2010?
I mean, I guess they should, but if we spend time thinking about our expectations, we're not working on a race car to make it go faster. So for the U.S. Army, Haas Automation, and Tornadoes, we'll do what we can to get this Chevrolet in victory lane.
And Wendy Venturini, Ryan Newman knows how to get to victory lane here at Daytona. Should be exciting to watch them tonight.
It sure will be, Hermie. Now, the cool part about the shootout is that there's a lot of drivers involved, and we're going to hear from them on NASCAR Race Day, but there's also a lot of drivers not involved, crew chiefs not involved in this race. And to get the story on that, we're going to talk to Slugger Lobby. Now, Slugger, the cool thing about this is that you are sticking around for this race. You and your driver, Paul Menard. Explain what your plan is.
Well, Paul and myself, we're going to go up on the spotter stand and watch the race. You know, there's a lot of unknowns. Goodyear's brought a new tire. We have more power, more restrictor plate. The aero rules come into effect, the side plates, the less wicker. So there's a lot of unknowns, and we just want to really see what's going on. We have 4 teammates in the race, and they're all set up different. So we're trying to learn some things for the Daytona 500 and the Gatorade 150s on Thursday. So there's just a lot of things, a lot of different theories, a lot of mentality. So we're going to take different approaches, but I'm going to take Paul up there. We're going to go watch, and just, you know, the closing rate's going to be a lot quicker because with more power, you run faster, so you be gaining on the car a lot quicker. So there's just a lot of questions. A lot of people only ran 12 laps in practice for the shootout practice because of all the wrecks and so forth, so on. So I think the 2 accidents we saw the other day was because the closing rate was so fast that they didn't anticipate like we had with the other restrictor plates. So there's, like I said, a lot of unknowns, and we're going to have good seats up top of the spotter stand.
Now, in the off-season, a lot of the teams that we had just talked about on race day run these simulation tests and run these cars, but you really can't predict what's going to happen until you put the drivers in the seats and get them all out there on the racetrack. What have you learned so far this week?
Well, the one thing, I guess, we have all kinds of simulations. We have, you know, wind tunnels we can do, 7 posts, 4 posts, but the main thing with restricted plate racing is the guy behind the seat holding his right foot down and getting off the gas or staying on the gas. But we've done all our work that we can. Our Menards Ford is prepared very well. We're very excited about it, and we hope to race well on practice on Wednesday and race well on the 150s, but we're going to use a lot of information from the 17 and 99 and the 9 and just try to put a good package together. But we have some good teammates. We can feed a lot of information off of them, and and hopefully I might be able to see something up there I could help my teammate and do better in the race.
All right, Slugger, enjoy the race for once tonight. No work for you. Now, Slugger is going to be headed back home to Concord, North Carolina, much like a lot of these teams, Johnny. We have 3 dark days coming up. A lot of these teams are going to pack up and head back to North Carolina before we come back for Speed Weeks.
Wendy, thanks a lot. Let's take a look at the format under which these drivers will slug it out tonight. 2 segments, 25 laps and 50 laps. Caution laps do count, and between segments there will be a 10-minute pit stop, but this race must end under green flag conditions. So when you put the champions and the winners out there under the lights and tell them there's a whole big difference between the check for the winner and the last place finisher, well, you got yourself an all-star shootout.
It gets your racing blood going. You know, we hadn't raced in 3 months. So I don't care how much you test, how much you practice, how much you watch video, play video games. It's not the same as being in a race car. So you get to start the year right off the bat in a race where, you know, it's kind of like an all-star race. You can kind of go for it, and the risk are you win less money than if you would have done better. So it's a really high, exciting race, and I think it's a great way to start the year.
Great for the crew chiefs to see the data that they can get out of the car, the tire temp, and the tire wear. And drivers can learn a little bit about the draft and some stuff, but mainly it's great information for the teams.
You really get to learn what everybody has because everybody's on equal tires and everybody's been on the track for the same amount of time. So the shootout is a true story of what the guys are going to have for the 500.
Well, I think it's always an advantage to get extra track time, especially without the testing, and we haven't been racing all winter. So I feel like the shootout's a little bit of an advantage. You can work through some setup stuff and get some long runs in. You can get a pit stop in and get the crew guys used to it and ready to go. So I think it definitely gives you a jump on the 150s and the 500.
Last year was the first year that I can remember having to be a spectator for that race, and it ate me alive knowing that the guys that we had to beat for the 500 were already practicing in race trim and actually had a race under their belt before we ever got a chance to even get out there and draft.
This will be the 22nd Bud Shootout for Mark the Kid Martin. He's one of those guys that's in the race, fortunately for him, but everybody else is going to be up top watching this thing hard, trying to learn something because you're at a disadvantage being outside of this thing.
And I found it interesting listening to Slugger when he talked about we're going up on the spotter stand so we can see the whole racetrack. We're going to see what they do on the back stretch. We're going to see what they do on the front stretch. We're going to see what they do coming through the corners. We're going to see what everybody does. He talks about tires. So many times with these cars, you'd run 10 or 15 laps, and then the car would just completely go away. That's what they're going to be listening to. Whose car goes away, whose car gets better. The difference between Daytona and Talladega that so many people lose sight of is Daytona is not a speed track. Daytona is a handling track. And to win a 500-mile race here, you have to handle all day long. And even though these are sprint races, these guys have to be working on their handling, thinking, here I am on Friday night or Saturday night in Daytona Beach, but I'm thinking next Sunday the 500.
Kenny, you've seen it from both sides too before. You've been a driver in the shootout and gone on and entered the 500, and vice versa. No shootout and drive the 500.
You know, I was thinking, should I say this or not? But I bring humility to this show. You know, I wanted to be in the Bud Shootout so bad. I wanted to be in the Bud Shootout so bad. Baby, when I finally got in it, man, I'm in the Bud Shootout. And Kyle, I fulfilled my dreams. I came so close to winning. You know, Jeff Gordon missed the shift. I had a choice of pushing Jimmy Spencer or Rusty. Of course, I go with blood. I go with my brother. We finished 1-2. But then listen to this. This is why I thought, should I tell this story or not? I finished second, and then I missed the Daytona 500. I was so happy. I was in it, and then I was so sad. But that is Speed Weeks at Daytona. I mean, it's up, it's down. I mean, it's just crazy. But I love the Bud Shootout. It is so exciting.
And what a range of emotions we see all week long, Kyle.
It is truly amazing. And, you know, we're sitting here and we're talking about the Bud Shootout for this race. And this is such a huge race. And you've got Joey Logano in it. You've got Derek Cope back here. You've got the main man, Kenny Schrader. I don't care anybody. Back in. That's my pick. Okay, that's my guy. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. But you've got so many guys who haven't been in this race in a while or have never been in this race. Then going into next week, the range of emotions are, you know, the Max Pappases. The Kurt Schilmerdings, those guys that come down here that aren't in a race, that have to race their way in the Twins next week, which is a huge thing, or the Jules next week, which is a huge thing. And, you know, just like he says, I've been in the same position. I've been here, I've made the 500, and, man, I've watched it at home on TV, and it's a sad thing to watch it at home on TV.
Hey, I told Juan Pablo, Formula One champion, I said, Juan Pablo, you in the Bud Shootout. Sarat. I'm like, what do you mean, so what? So what? what? Are you in the Daytona 500?
He was just acting like he'd been there before, because he has been there before. And folks, we want to tell you, you got to come down here to Daytona. I know you're probably snowed in up in the Northeast right now, hopefully watching it here on Speed. But if you have a chance to get down here next week for the Thursday duel, there's a lot of stuff going on here at Daytona, including a lot of fun inside the fan zone. Welcome back to Race Day, everyone. There is a driver and a car that knows its way around this Daytona International Speedway. Jeff Gordon, when it comes to the Daytona 500, is the winningest active driver on this racetrack or on the series right now. He has also got some great teammates around him, including one of the guys that's going to start on the front row, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in his number 88 car when it comes to the Daytona 500 next Sunday. Also, Mark the Kid Martin will join Jr. on the front row when we wave the flag. But one thing about NASCAR, it's a big family. From Hendrick Motorsports all the way down to anybody else that runs in the series, when there is trouble, NASCAR tends to come to help. When a 7.0 magnitude earthquake devastated Haiti, Missionary Flights International was just one organization who became involved in the efforts to transport medical assistance and supplies to Haiti. And just like in motorsports, it's important to have strong teammates, and there's no better teammate than Hendrick Motorsports.
Some of the stories are really pretty devastating that you hear about experiences people have had there that are coming back. Others are tremendously uplifting, even in the face of a lot of adversity and challenge, you know, to hear about these medical teams that are going in and literally affecting hundreds of people in a day.
We had a plane that dropped off surgeons, and before our plane could take off and get back to Fort Pierce, they were operating, those surgeons were operating in the street in a makeshift tent.
You can see more next Sunday of how NASCAR is helping in Haiti when NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot, gets ready for the Daytona 500, 9 a.m. right here on Speed. And we'll also have a special edition before the duel on Thursday. It was a triple header of sorts today, the Daytona International Speedway. We started out with Sprint Cup Series qualifying, then went on to a very wild ARCA Series race, and now we have the Bud Shootout 24 of NASCAR's best, dueling it out under the lights for a whole lot of cash. Now let's take a look at the Daytona 500 qualifying. Jimmy Johnson qualified 6th, and as we watch these cars go around the track, we remind you that only the front row is set in qualifying for the Daytona 500. But also, as you see where some of your favorite drivers qualified, Kyle Petty, it's very important to point out that 3, including Bill Elliott, 3 drivers did qualify their way in besides the 2 guys on the front row.
Yeah, and it was Bill Elliott, I think, Scott Speed,
and Joe Nemechek.
And Joe Nemechek, the 87. And that is critical for those guys. I mean, you can't put, we talk about Junior, we talk about Jeff, we talk about Jimmy, we talk about Juan, we talk about all those guys. These are the 3 guys, the 21, the 82, and the 87, that's going to be sleeping the best for the next 3 or 4 days. Kenny, we talked about it.
I'm going to tell you something. Here we go. Junior! Woo! He's my man. Here he is, race fans. You asked for it all winter long. You got it. NASCAR has listened. Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the front row outside, locked in the front row for the Daytona 500.
And here's the best thing about this pole for Mark Martin. It's the pole that you get to enjoy the longest during the season, because you're the Daytona 500 pole sitter longer than any other race.
But let's be honest, Mark Martin waited longer than anybody else. He's 51 years old. He's the oldest pole winner. I mean, think about how many times he came down here before he won this. This is what's cool about Mark winning this thing. As he comes down here, he wins the pole, and it's what, 30th, 31st try, whatever it is, 51 years old.
Including the July races, Mark Martin is going to start his 50th race here at Daytona, and he's still running stronger than ever. I thought you were supposed to get older and tireder with age. Mark Martin's getting stronger.
And you know what? We're having a good time tonight, but I asked Mark the Kid Martin, I said, why are you doing this now? He says, my car is fast. And his boy, Matt, decided not to be a race car driver, so when his son said, I don't want to be a race car driver, Dad, Mark said, I'm going to go back racing. And look at him now.
Yeah, and there's absolutely no truth to the rumor whatsoever that it was going to be GoGranddaddy.com on Mark's car because he was 50. That's just not true whatsoever, because he's 50 years young, and Mark Martin just could be one of the favorites by the time we're racing in the 500 next Sunday.
Thursday, the boys rev them up and let it fly in a duel to the death. Who makes the cut and who heads north? Live from Daytona, NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot.
NASCAR Race Day is built by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. Brought to you in part by Hershey's Milk and Milkshakes. Try a new way to indulge in Hershey's. And by Toyota, moving forward.
Starting February 12th, you can go online to enter into the Toyota Racing Sponsify Your Ride contest, where you can design your very own Sprint Cup car. Locate the Sponsify link at toyotaracing.com and check out the official contest rules. The grand prize winner will see their car come to life at the NASCAR Sprint All-Star Race on May 22nd. Rutledge Wood is going to design the first Sponsify car, and he's going to unveil it on the trackside set, and rumor has it that he will put a very big picture of himself on it, but also pictures of your favorite trackside talent as well. And you want to tune in to see how Rutledge does, and again, probably will be using crayons on that, because that's about the level that Rutledge is at. Let's go to Hermie Sadler.
You're bad.
Well, thank you, Jerry. One of our favorite parts of race day is talking to the drivers right before they go on the racetrack. John Andretti, you won here back in 1997 to get entry into this race. What do you got for them tonight?
Well, I don't know. We're going to do our best. Obviously, we've got a pretty decent starting spot, but during practice, it was hard to figure out where everybody was doing, and there's some really fast race cars, and I think everybody kind of pushes the limit in this. So we're looking forward to a fun race, and hopefully we can bring the Winter World Cares forward as close as we can to the front.
I know you had some sad news. Your CEO of Winter World passed away early this week. I know you guys want to put in a good effort for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Todd was a very good friend of mine, and he's really going to be missed. And I want to send our thoughts and prayers to Tammy and his kids, Wyatt, Anna Grace, and Tucker, and the whole Winter World family. There's two things that Todd really loved, and that was fast cars and helping kids, and hoping to raise $1.5 million for St. Jude's through Winter World Cares. So Todd's going to live on, his memory's going to live on, and it all starts here tonight.
Well, good luck to John Andretti tonight, racing for a great cause, and I'll go get a word with Michael Waltrip. That cannot be your daughter, Macy.
Man, I know it's weird to say I see her all the time, but when she walked into my motorhome this afternoon, I'm like, man, she's a big girl now. How beautiful is she? Look at her.
Unbelievable. She grew up with Cora, but she's past her a little bit. Let's talk about the race tonight. I know a special place for you, Daytona always is. What's your expectation for tonight?
Well, I can't wait. I think we got a car that's handling great. I think we can go up there and race those guys. We got basically 3 25-lap segments. We'll run the first 25, take a break, make sure we understand what our car's all about, and then go at it for 50 laps and probably split it in 2 halves. So we got a good plan. I got a great team behind me. Pat Trice's been a ton of fun to work with. The Napa car was really balanced. And, you know, Hermie, I told Pat, I said, I can feel my front tires perfect. I love that. And anytime I've ever had success here, my front tires are in the game, and they're in the game, and hopefully it'll be a fun night for me.
It will be a fun night. We'll be keeping an eye on Michael Waltrip. Good luck to you in the Napa car, and we're going to squeeze around and try to find Kevin Harvick. I'm going to weasel my way through some traffic here, I think, if I get my camera to follow me, and maybe break up a conversation here. Here he is, catching up with it. Glad you finally made it to Daytona. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to be here. It's nice to be healthy enough to be here, and glad to drive our Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet tonight. Should be a fun night.
You won this race last year. What is it going to take to win tonight?
Well, it's just I think it's going to take a good handling car, to be honest with you. I think that's going to be as important as anything. Have no idea what I have. Haven't made a race lap in it yet, and it's a backup car at that, so I don't think anybody knows what it has. Burton said it drove pretty good, so we'll just gas it up and see what happens.
So other than a backup car with no time on the racetrack, everything else is looking pretty good.
Guess I'm going to earn my paycheck tonight.
It should be fun. That's Kevin Harvick. Wendy?
And I'm with Kurt Busch in his pit stall for tonight's race. And the cool thing I was just noticing, Kurt, is that you were checking out inch by inch this pit stall for a reason. I'm sure it's methodical.
I was just looking around, just trying to kill time. But no, we are next to Kenseth. Normally in a shootout, you get gaps in between all the pit stalls. So we're right up against Matt just because of our poor qualifying draw. And then we're going to start in the back. So we got a long way to go with our Miller Lite Dodge. But from today's qualifying session, I'm really excited about what tonight can bring us.
And of course, that starting spot for tonight is not any indicator on the race car. What are your expectations from tonight's race?
Just to try to find a good handling car. Our Daytona 500 car showed that speed. So let's see how the first 25 shake out. And then when everybody gets fresh tires, I know we're all going to get messing around for 3 wide. So hopefully we miss everything, guide this thing right to the front and bring it home for Dodge.
Did you give your brother any marriage advice yet since he just proposed?
Yeah, don't do the wedding during the season. It's a headache, but I'll have plenty of Miller Lite for him for the wedding, and we're going to go try to win this shootout tonight.
All right, good luck to Kurt Busch, and we're going to squeeze on through as intros are getting started. Joey Logano, I know an exciting evening for you in this shootout. What do you hope to accomplish in tonight's race?
Just gain some experience and try to get a win here. You know, we got a really good Home Depot Toyota. I'm excited about being in the Budge Shootout. I am stoked about it. So I think I got a good car. Zippy's going to do the right calls up there, and I'm so excited right now. I'm ready to go.
Now, you've learned a lot in the last year. What makes tonight any different in learning and getting seat time?
Oh, nothing at all. I mean, this is basically the same deal. Last year we didn't make it past 3 laps, I think. So hopefully it goes a lot better than that. But either way, I think we got a lot of good experience at a 500 coming up.
What do you think of that ARCA race?
Whew. It was, there's a few times I was glad I wasn't in it, but it looked like a good race coming down to the end, as it always is at Daytona in about any series. So it was exciting to watch.
All right, good luck to Joey Logano. I know you have been in that seat before trying to get some seat time himself. Hermie Sadler, what you got?
Look, Carl's got to run off for a quick, great qualifying run tonight. Good luck.
Yeah, I got to thank Scotts and Affleck. I got to go. They're yelling.
They're yelling at me. Driver intro's going on here tonight at Daytona. They're hurrying the boys up. JR?
Hey, Hermie, they were yelling at Carl Edwards, but Tony Stewart was still one position behind him getting up there. But Tony's never been the last guy to anything.
Well, he may be the last one to driver introduction, but he's the first one to victory lane.
First one to victory lane.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It doesn't matter what you drove or where you drove it. Chances are your dreams were to compete here at Daytona. These guys tonight are getting a chance to kick off the season. There's so much pageantry. There's such a great environment to be around, and no better way to start off the season.
You know, the 2 times that I was in this race, they gave away shotguns. And I'm going to tell you what, all these guys have got something to remember this event. Race fans, this is Daytona 2010. This Bud Shootout stands on its own merit. It is its own race. It's not part of the season. It's almost an all-star race. And we'll see an all-star race on speed in the middle of the year at Charlotte. But this is a lot of fun. And Kyle, I wonder what they gave them this year. What do you think they got?
Budweiser.
They gave him a case of Budweiser, man.
Yeah. Schrader's excited.
Schrader is excited. He'll be partying for a week now. You know, I think the atmosphere here in this race is always exciting. I think this is one of those races. It's a great race to kick off the year because we heard Slugger talk about, okay, the teams that aren't in the race are either back at the hotel watching this thing on speed, or they're up on a score stand or a spotter stand, they're on their buses, they're up on top of the trucks in the garage area. They're learning from this race. So this is one of the few races all year long that the competitors get excited about watching. Not only the fans that are here behind us at the Home Depot stage, they get the excitement. You feel the tension, you feel it building all through qualifying and all through the practice, the crash, everything that's happened. But I think when you look at it, this is an exciting moment.
And this race comprises 24 of the stars of NASCAR, past champions, winners here at Daytona, the Rookie of the Year, the reigning Rookie of the Year, Joey Logano, and also the 12 chasers from last year. So you have just about everything covered. And as Kenny said, if you somebody, you in this thing.
You in it, buddy. I tell you what, I'm a Missouri boy, and I got to give a shout-out to my other brother, Kenny Schrader. You know, Kenny is really excited. He got here, and he got all nervous and everything. But, you know, Kyle, Kenny's in a really good car. My buddy's back in O'Donnell Jumper said, you going to gas it up, Kenny Schrader? And he says, if that car's there, I'm going to. Kenny Schrader, second quickest in practice. Look for Schrader to bring it home up front tonight.
Here's a good example of something to keep an eye on tonight. Jamie McMurray in the 1 car is with a new combination, a new team, but he is in this race by virtue of winning the July race a couple of years ago. So this is a bit of a dress rehearsal, and it's a good chance for him to get to know Kevin Manion and the rest of that team.
And that's important. I think when you look back, that's what testing did for a lot of teams. They got them used to each other. Crew chief, the communication. I think when you look back, we used to run Riverside before they run Daytona. That was great for new teams. This is a great opportunity for Jamie and that group to get together.
Well, race fans, strap in. We're about to get this thing underway. The 2010 Bud Shootout starts out this year's NASCAR season at the World Center of Racing. It's about to get wild. With the exception of a little bit of practice, these drivers have not turned a lap in anger in a couple of months. It's time to drop the rag and go racing here at the Daytona International Speedway at the Budweiser Shootout with 24 of the sport's best. Past champions, past winners here at Daytona, the Chasers from last year, and also the reigning Rookie of the Year, Joey Logano. You guys have both had the opportunity to stand up here on this very night. What does it feel like?
It's an incredible feeling because there's that apprehension. We saw the accident happen. We saw some of that stuff happen early in the week. It's that you're nervous. I don't know how to describe it to people. You're just nervous. You want to get racing. Jeff Burton said it best when his interview was, you know, I haven't been in a race car in 3 months. You can simulate, you can play games, you can do whatever you want to. We didn't test that. It's not racing. Now it's racing.
I think everybody wants to be somebody. There's humble people. You know, Mark Martin acts humble. But, you know, Mark Martin earlier in our show today said, you know what, last year I watched the Bud Shootout and I was agonizing. Mark gets all crippled. I'm agonizing. He's in it now. And I'm going to tell you what, everybody wants to be somebody. When I was in it, it made me feel big time. I was big time, baby. Now I'm no time because I'm not in it, but I'm on TV.
You're hanging out with us. That's not big time, Ken Wallace.
Come on.
What do you want? Our fans here, man? Boy, what does he want?
I don't know what he wants. I mean, to get to hang out with John Roberts is an honor.
You know my new nickname this year?
What is it?
Man of Mountain. I'm the man of the mountain.
Man of the mountain.
Hey, self-proclaimed man of the mountain. Let's go inside to Wendy, see what's going on.
Talk about getting you close to the drivers. Here we are, driver intros, the ride on the trucks. We're on the back of the truck with Kyle Busch. He just finished his driver introduction. Kyle, what do you expect out of tonight's race? Because we know what the rules are, and we know there's not a whole lot at stake with the points.
Well, it's just going to be a fun, exciting night, hopefully for all of us, including the fans. But, you know, we're about all falling here. The deal we got going on tonight is just, you know, kind of a test and a practice for what's going to happen for next week. You know, we got the duels coming up on Thursday, of course, and then what goes on in the 500. So it should be fun, and we're looking forward to the new rules.
Is this a good time to ask you about your proposal story to Samantha? Congratulations, my friend.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. It's definitely really great, and her and I, you know, we love each other, so it's definitely going to be a lot of fun to go through that, of course, this year and what all we've got going on together, and to solidify our relationship means even more.
So have you set a date? Off season.
Off season, hopefully, yeah.
All right, Kyle Busch waving to the fans. He even did some autographs right before we got on this truck. A true gentleman this evening. Johnny, what you got over there?
Well, that's just one of the many stories that's going on here during Speed Weeks, and the Budweiser Shootout starts everything off. The pageantry going on down on the front stretch right now is definitely something to take a look at as the excitement of the season coming is about on us, but we got a lot of racing to do, and a good performance in the Bud Shootout definitely does not indicate success in the Daytona 500 because only 5 drivers have won the shootout and gone on to win the Daytona 500. The most recent to do that would be Dale Jarrett back in 2000. Let's now go back to Hermie Sadler.
Well, thank you, Joe. And riding around with smoke, Tony Stewart. Kind of a cool night here at Daytona. You guys ready to heat it up?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be very long. We'll be sweating in the cars and working around there pretty hard.
You love this race. You won it a couple times. Ready to get off to a start in 2010. Had a great year last year. What are you looking for as a season-long process for Stewart Haas?
Well, I mean, we had a great first season as a team, and real appreciative to Gene for giving us the opportunity, and Joe Custer and Office Depot and Old Spice and U.S. Army and Burger King and all the people that helped us. So, you know, we had one of those years that after year one, you almost have to set the benchmark pretty high now. So, you know, we'll just do the best we can. We want to win races. We want to get both cars in the chase again, and we feel like we got a team now that with the year under its belt has a legitimate shot at going for the championship now.
Well, last question. Can you win tonight, and what will it take to do that?
Oh, we can do it. It's, you know, we kind of overlooked something yesterday or 2 days ago, and we found it yesterday. So the good thing is I think we're going to have a different car. I don't know what our balance is going to be right off the bat with it, but we'll definitely be a little quicker. So I'm excited. Good thing is we'll get through this first 25-lap segment and take care of it, and you know, then we'll have 10 minutes to really figure out what we want to do, and then we'll go race those last 50 pretty hard.
I didn't realize these people love me so much. They're waving and waving to Tony once in a while too. Wendy.
Denny Hamlin just made his way to his race car, having some serious words with Mike Ford. How serious do you have to be about tonight's race? Are you worried about it?
Not at all. The first thing is we got to just kind of hopefully let it play out. It looks like tires will start to drop off, and you'll have to start lifting around lap 10 or so. So for us, we need to kind of let things get strung out. We really don't want to tear up this car, but we also want to get a win, so we'll do whatever it takes.
What will you be able to give to Mike Ford as feedback in that break, and how much are you going to be trying to listen to this car since it hasn't been on the racetrack?
Well, the thing is, I've only got 12 laps of practice since Homestead, and it was in the first practice of Shootout. So all I've got is 12 laps on this racetrack, and here we are racing for the first time this year. And so I need to get some laps on the track and get some good feedback for the 500.
I think it's very clear that these cars are a little less stable than they have been in the past at Daytona. What are your feelings on it?
Well, you know, I definitely agree with that. I think, you know, we've added a little bit of speed, which is good. But we've taken a little bit of grip away with the rear shock package and whatnot. So it's kind of a, you know, they've added some downforce in some areas and whatnot. The cars aren't really bad. So, you know, I'm kind of looking forward to see how things kind of play out after 10 or 12 laps.
All right, good luck to Denny Hamlin tonight. And I do have to give props to Kyle Busch for saving our cameraman here, Bruno, who almost went off the truck. Thanks, Kyle.
See, Kyle's a good man helping us out here. You know, Denny Hamlin was responsible for one of the best stories we've ever seen out of this Budweiser Shootout. He got a pole position at Phoenix the year before under the rookie cap, so he was a true rookie. Came down here to Daytona and won this Bud Shootout.
And it was amazing. The biggest test for Denny tonight is going to be that leg. And that's going to be the test more for him than anybody else.
Henny, what do you think we're going to see?
We're going to see a great race, and watch us on Victory Lane after the race, right?
Right. We'll be back here on Speed on Victory Lane to wrap everything up. But right now, you don't have to do anything. Keep it right here on Speed for the 2010 Budweiser Shootout.